Emanuele Pirro called it an important moment. Piastri has finally shown he's human. It sounds sympathetic, but in Formula One, being human usually means losing control. Oscar Piastri, who had spent the season defined by calm precision and unshakable composure, began to unravel after Monza, the moment McLaren asked him to hand second place to Lando Norris. Since then, the graph of his form has tilted downward. A jump start and crash in Baku, contact with Norris in the Austin sprint, and in Mexico. Half a second off in qualifying before finishing fifth. 6 weeks ago, he led the World Championship by 34 points. Now he trails by 1. Andrea Stella insists nothing on the car has changed. McLaren stopped development months ago. Greater than the difference is only in driving style, he said. And low grip tracks like Mexico just suit Lando better. Piastri admitted confusion. Greater than I've had to drive very differently, but I haven't found the rhythm yet. Meanwhile, Norris seems to be living the best phase of his career. Calm, precise, untouched by pressure. Herbert calls it perfect relaxation. Hill calls Piastri mentally shaken. 2 young drivers, 2 psychological directions, one evolving, one losing his footing. And if you enjoy this kind of calm, measured but deep analysis, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the full breakdown of how tiny shifts inside a driver's head can rewrite an entire championship. This battle between the 2 McLarens is no longer about speed. The numbers already say that. Since Zandvoort, when Piastri looked untouchable, Norris never truly slowed. He simply waited for the moment when pressure would reverse its course. That moment came at Monza. The day the team's call planted doubt. From then on, the difference between them hasn't been mechanical. It's psychological. Norris channels the weight. Piastri resists it until it breaks him. Damon Hill perhaps read it best. He stopped thinking race by race and started thinking about the prize. It's simple, but fatal. Because once a driver starts seeing the finish line before it arrives, he stops looking at the next corner. He begins to drive through anticipation instead of instinct. And in a world ruled by split seconds, anticipation can be the slowest thing of all. That McLaren's car hasn't changed makes it even more fascinating. Stella has dismissed all talk of favoritism. The cars are the same, he insists, but the way they are driven is not. On low-grip surfaces like Austin and Mexico, Piastri clung to his early season habits. Norris let the car move beneath him, trusting its chaos. The results speak for themselves. One fought the car, the other flowed with it. Johnny Herbert called Norris's Mexican Grand Prix a statement. He wasn't just faster, he was serene. He was relaxed the whole weekend, Herbert said. That's something we've never really seen before. It wasn't just about the perfect start, though that start exercised a season-long weakness. It was about control without strain. In a sport that often equates speed with aggression, Norris demonstrated that calm can be its deadliest form. Piastri, meanwhile, looked locked in debate with himself. He spoke of trying many things, experimenting with his driving, relearning how to handle the tyres and throttle. But beneath the adjustments was a hint of something deeper, a driver no longer fully trusting his instincts. Once you start wondering whether your way is right, you're already driving like it isn't. Even the media began to sense a crack. Sky's Ted Kravitz admitted he held back a sarcastic question about whether the real Piastri had driven in Baku, fearing it would sting too much. And maybe that says everything. When a driver once immune to outside noise starts worrying about perception, it means he's seeking reassurance instead of rhythm. Ralf Schumacher also jumped in, not to fuel conspiracies about McLaren favouring Norris, but to warn that Piastri and manager Mark Webber were feeding them unintentionally. If management keeps looking defensive, people start assuming something's wrong, he said. It's not an accusation, it's a reflection. In a title fight, perception can pull a team's focus faster than data ever could. Across the garage, Norris has been the perfect counterpoint. The driver once haunted by self-doubt now barely reacts. No theatrics, no overanalysis, just execution. In a paddock where composure often masquerades as indifference, his restraint is beginning to look like dominance. He finally understands when to stop proving and start performing, Herbert said. Norris's resurgence in the second half of the season mirrors Piastri's unravelling almost perfectly. Same car, same tools, same opportunities. One chose to breathe, the other tried to fix. When Norris won in Mexico, it wasn't only because he was quicker, it was because he stopped searching for reasons. For Piastri, the challenge isn't rediscovering speed, it's rediscovering peace. Stella praised him for salvaging 5th place in Mexico after a difficult weekend, but warned that learning under pressure isn't the same as understanding. In a title fight, time to learn doesn't exist. Each mistake deepens the weight. Each bit of weight multiplies the mistakes. It's a loop that has swallowed young champions before. Pirro might be right, Piastri has finally looked human. But in a sport where emotion is an enemy and silence is survival, humanity becomes a liability. His brilliance in the first 2/3 of the season wasn't just about speed, it was about absence. The absence of noise, self-doubt, distraction. Now that silence has cracked and speed without stillness is just chaos. With 4 rounds to go, the single point separating McLaren's 2 stars feels heavier than any margin in years. This is no longer teammate versus teammate. It's a duel between 2 philosophies of pressure, one that flows, one that resists. And McLaren, caught in the middle, must balance on the edge of unity and implosion. Interlagos will test them both. A circuit that rewards adaptability, punishes overthinking, and constantly shifts in grip. It's everything that now divides the pair. Piastri calls it difficult to know what to expect. The phrase sounds simple, but carries exhaustion. Norris arrives quieter than ever, almost expressionless. In Formula One, silence usually means readiness. Their story so far reveals how thin the line is between composure and collapse, between control and chaos. In a matter of weeks, McLaren has transformed from a team with 2 equals into a psychological case study. 2 versions of modern athletes racing at 300 kilometers per hour. One learning to live with disorder, the other still fighting to deny it. Maybe that's the beauty of this season. Not the fastest car, but the duel of 2 mentalities colliding at full speed. One mistake could cost a title, but a single moment of calm could redefine it. And when the lights go out in Interlagos, the question will be brutally simple. Who will lose himself first, Norris or Piastri?